Welcome to the Health and Wealth Podcast. This is a show dedicated to the pursuit of health and wealth without losing your health to attain that wealth. With this podcast, we're going to share stories and best practices of successful business owners who either sell health or have health as part of their business plan. You're going to get great marketing and strategic advice from proven, successful experts. We will also be sharing stories from successful entrepreneurs who lost their health on the road to wealth, what they learned, and how they do things differently now, both in business and in life. Let's welcome your host, businesswoman, personal trainer, and podcast queen, JJ Flizanes.
Welcome back to Health and Wealth. I'm JJ Flizanes, your host. Thank you for downloading today's episode. Today, we're going to talk about having a heart-centered marketing strategy, a very important part of business for everyone, even if it's on a smaller scale. There are many ways to bring in business into your business, and having a marketing plan can help just make that easier and keep your pipeline full. So it's very important to have a marketing strategy. Now, with that said, we also offer that in the mastermind that I'm doing, and there are a few spaces left for 2020. If that's something that you might be interested in, is not only heart-centered marketing, but heart-centered entrepreneurialism, where you're following your intuition and your passion to make decisions about how to have your business. Not necessarily chasing money. And I mean, money's great and everybody wants to make money, but we want to do it in a way that's sustainable, honors who we are and our path, feels good while we're doing it, and won't have us sabotage our relationships or our health to sacrifice in order to obtain wealth. So anyway, if you have any questions about that, we're closing the doors very quickly here by the end of this week. So email me, jj@jjflizanes.com. I also wanted to remind people that there are some other opportunities to get more involved in the community that already exists around my other podcasts. Group coaching happens once a month in the Inner Circle. That is a live group coaching on video on Zoom. There are 3 to 4 other podcast episodes just specifically for the Inner Circle. And then, of course, there's a Facebook community where we hold each other accountable for doing all kinds of things, from manifestation challenges to the 5-day fasting mimicking diet, which we're doing again in March. So it's a great thing to check out, and it's super, super, super inexpensive. It is $9.99 a month, and that is jjflizanes.com/inner circle. Jennifer Dickens owns Whole Life Marketing, which is a boutique firm that specializes in marketing plans for already established brands. And they do great with SEO. I was a client of theirs for some video. So I definitely recommend Whole Life Marketing. And in 2018, for Jennifer, it became clear that she had to awaken all hearts to divine love. And this would be her life purpose moving forward. So she delved into mastering the science of the heart and became a certified heart coherence and resilience coach. As a certified heart math coach, she caringly mentors people in discovering their true authentic self by awakening their own heart, accessing their heart wisdom, and discover their own divinity. Welcome to the show, Jen.
Thank you, JJ. It's wonderful to be a part of your show and to be invited to talk about health and wellness, and as it affects us in this new decade and with 2020 vision.
Well, you have an interesting story, both a health story as well as a health business story. And let's first start off with the reason why you got into the health industry in the first place, and your sort of first brush with one of those traumatizing events that lead us to searching for other options in the health industry.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was younger, probably about 20 years ago, I had what I call the perfect storm when it comes to events in my life. I was engaged. I was working for a Fortune 100 company. My parents were going through a divorce, and I was diagnosed with a precancerous condition. So I had to stop everything and really assess what was going on in my life. I had surgery, and then the doctor, the condition came back, and we had to do more invasive surgery. And then there was this voice that welled up within me and said no. And I had never experienced anything like that in my life. I didn't know where it came from. The nurse and I looked at each other, total in bewilderment, disbelief. And so I just had to explore, what is this voice? What is it trying to tell me? why should I not do more invasive surgery? That's kind of like the logical Western medicine. This is the only protocol that I know. So I basically had to figure it out. I had to do more holistic approaches, and I did end up healing myself, which is a really, really great thing. I did find a medical doctor who also practiced integrative medicine, and we did a lot of holistic integrative approaches. But then that healed the body, but I still didn't know what that voice was. And it wasn't until I started meditating in about 2010, 2011, and then a few years into meditation, I discovered, oh my God, this voice is my soul. It's my inner being that was trying to express to me what to do and not to do. And I had to listen to it because it was so pronounced in that moment when I was in the doctor's office.
But when you heard it, you trusted it.
I did. It was because it made my vocal cords express the word no. You know what I'm saying? It actually moved my body, right? And when something like that happens and you don't know where it came from, and it wasn't a thought. It wasn't a thought. It came from deep within me. I don't know how to express it other than, it was really soulful. It came like from deep within the core of my being and actually said the word no. So.
Yeah, I've had some similar experience in being lined up for surgery. That it's funny how I gave my power away to not even a doctor, but to a healer and someone who I trusted, whose work I had used before and had worked, and I did believe in her gifts, but she had said that surgery was the only option. And so I went down the path of surgery and went to 3 different doctors and scheduled had almost 3 different appointments. And each time I was hysterically crying. And now part of it, my marriage was also on the tail end, and I knew this was attached to that. So there was sadness and shame and frustration all about that. So that at first, probably what I thought it was, just this sort of feeling of despair in general. But by the by the 3rd appointment, as I'm getting ready to schedule the surgery, I mean, hysterically sobbing, uncontrollably sobbing. And I really had to look at myself and say, hello, your body is telling you do not believe this is the right way to go. There is another option. And so at that point, it took 3 times. And it wasn't because, to me, if you're having a health crisis and you have all this information, the right choice is the one that makes you feel hope, that makes you feel lighter, that settles and resonates in your body. And that's what you were talking about, that deep resonance against what you were going to do, and your body having to step in and say, hold up. And for someone who, I consider myself pretty darn intuitive, the fact that I wasn't even listening to my own body until the 3rd time, I was like, wow, okay. So I have had a similar experience where, it wasn't a no. It was more of, I left the office thinking, what am I doing? JJ, you're crying hysterically. Wake up. It's your body telling you, you do not agree with this. It might be right for someone else, but it is not right for you. And it wasn't. And ultimately, there was something else that was. So, but back to you.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And that's good that you listened to what was happening to you and kind of stepped back and said, what's going on here, JJ, and you listened. That was your intuition. You listened to your intuition. So that's awesome.
Well, I had to, and it's not something that at that point, I'd given my power away so much that I wasn't listening to my own intuition. And that's definitely one of the goals of the show, is to help people tap into that intuitive part of who they are, both from their internal being as well as beings and energies and intuition and messages that they could be hearing outside of themselves to help guide them both in health and in wealth. So I want to take your journey into then sort of your profession and your livelihood and how you decided to create the businesses that you have. I know I've worked with you on one of them. I want you to tell us a little bit about that journey.
Sure, of course. Well, of course, it's been a long journey because that was about 20 years ago. And, a lot happened. My parents got divorced. My engagement fell apart. I left that high stress corporate job. All of these things were required for me to heal and for me to really step into who I was and to step into the the faith that I was starting to develop in my inner self and my inner knowing and my intuition. And I started to listen to that voice a little bit more. And I prayed a lot. I wasn't really meditating yet at the time. And, so I prayed a lot, and then I would get messages, like I would get guidance, and I would get guided to doctors and different healing modalities. But through that healing journey and that healing process, which took about, believe it or not, only 3 years, which is a very short time frame to heal, anything that's cancer-based or precancerous. What I realized is that I needed to help people find other ways to heal. And I had to really take a look at myself and who I am and what I'm doing and whose dreams I'm helping pursue in my corporate jobs as a sales and marketing professional. And I decided that I wanted to start my own business and not necessarily be the practitioner. I wanted the practitioners who that's their soul calling to continue being practitioners. But what I wanted to do is help people discover that they have options. And so I started my own health and wellness marketing agency that supported wellness brand, health brands, and consciousness brands. And once I committed to that, everything just kind of came into place. And believe it or not, my healing doctor was actually an integral part of that and was part of the journey for a long time. We became friends. I became friends with him and his wife at the time. And it was really, there was this really deep sense of joy in my heart. You don't have that monthly paycheck that you can count on. You're building it from scratch, which kind of creates a little bit of stress, but the joy and the freedom of pursuing what you know is more your soul's calling and how you can really help people heal instead of just, do prescriptions and surgery and go a route that we've been taught here in the West. That was kind of how my whole life marketing business came about and supporting that health and wellness space.
So I know that running a whole life marketing, and I've been a client of yours, and I know that we've been referring you and other companies I work with you. And so I know you've seen a lot of different marketing plans, things that work, things that don't work. What advice would you give the person listening who either has a health business or wants to start a health business, and some of the best, most impactful ways to use marketing to grow their brand and their business?
That's a great question. Coming from the corporate world and corporate marketing and bringing it to the health and wellness space and working with practitioners or products or startup products and brands, a lot of times the practitioners, their business is working with individuals to help them heal, right? So they don't have expertise in marketing, and a lot of times they get out there and they try and do it on their own, because in the beginning it's a little bit hard because they may not have the budget. Right? But they're doing it without a strategy. And they're just kind of all over the place, which is not a very efficient use of their time. I know now there's a lot of online tools that can be used, and I would really suggest that they for individual practitioners or smaller practices, that they work with the online tools that are set in place for small-based businesses. They can go to the Small Business Administration. There's a ton of resources at the Small Business Development Centers run by the Small Business Administration. There's a lot of free tools, free professional counselors, and it really kind of helps them start treating their business like a business. And then on the marketing side, there are some online tools and resources for individual practitioners. Now, for startup brands, the main thing that I've noticed with startup brands is that they invest all their money in the product development and maybe packaging and branding, with zero money left to market and no strategy. And that's the worst thing a startup brand can do. You really have to bring in a marketing agency from the beginning to help you develop how you're going to market, to develop a go-to-market strategy, so that you're not investing all your money all in one place, but you actually know when you develop this product or you build it or you package it, how you're going to get it to the marketplace, correct? So that really, the strategy development is really integral to bring in early. And then we also work with existing brands. One of our clients has been in business as a herbal supplement company and brand for 40 years now. And, for them, it's really, because they're an existing brand that's been around for so long, how do they keep up with technology, keep up with new ways to access customers and consumers, to educate them? How do they get online in their platforms and be successful and succeed? So there's a lot of retooling, re-engineering that comes into play.
So for those that don't have, I know you mentioned there were tools. If they don't have a budget, they're literally just starting. And I love the advice you gave about not spending money in places where they have no idea whether it's going to work or not. So literally having a strategy out of the gate with whatever budget you have. If someone doesn't have any budget and they need to start a strategy, and you mentioned some of the tools, can you just give us an idea of what some of those tools are?
Yeah, for smaller online businesses, they can do the research online. They can say health practitioner, they can do a search for a health practitioner, small business marketing strategy development, or marketing strategy, and see what comes up. And they might see a few different tools, or they can work with someone like us and we can help them build a marketing strategy. They could go to wholelifemarketing.com and take a look there, and we're happy to help work with new brands. We've just been working with existing brands lately.
So speaking about the existing brands, again, are there behind the scenes one or two methods that you think are really impactful? Now, I understand each brand has a different audience, a different message, and therefore going to have a different strategy. But if you had to give us like 2 tips of like something that's been successful across the board, what would they be?
Well, I would make sure that if you decide to do 1 or 2 campaigns at a time. So let's say if you are going to do a blog, that you're consistent. And right now, what works best online, whether it's on a website, whether it's on a blog, whether it's in social media, is video content, right? And video content, people want to watch and learn and be educated and informed. So any how-to videos are really great, and it helps you showcase your expertise as a subject matter expert. So I would say how-to videos are great. Videos about your story and how you overcame something, you being engaged and working with a client, and or sharing in conversation dialogue with a client or customer. Something that people can gain value out of. I feel investing in video and media content, whether it's doing live streams and just having the right setup so that you can be effective with your computers and your devices and getting those live streams out, or it's recording and getting those videos in a blog on your website, sharing it in social media, sending it out in emails. But I feel that really being effective in media is the best place for any business, whether it's a startup or it's established. I feel that's right now the best place to invest your time. And on the social media platforms, live streaming is going to get your video production delivered into more feeds, correct? So you're going to catch the attention of the social media platforms. They want to see live content video first and foremost, and then second after that recorded. So those 2 would be where I would invest my time.
Excellent. Now, you've been working with businesses and brands in marketing their health and wealth business. And I know that recently you decided it was time for you to have your own health brand. Why don't you tell us a little bit about HeartMath and Heart Wisdom and Awakening Heart Wisdom?
Yeah. This goes back to the conversation about my healing journey, right? And that inner voice. So I was able to heal myself, but I still was trying to explore and get to know that voice and who that voice a lot better. And so I started meditating in 2011, and I just started on my own, just sitting and meditating. And then I did some courses with the Chopra Center, Deepak Chopra Center. And then there was a yoga studio here in Santa Monica that had some meditation courses. They actually became a client, and I did a lot of marketing for them. And then eventually I found a higher meditation path called Kriya Yoga. It was brought here to the West by Paramahansa Yogananda. And so I immersed myself in that. And then I really, really got to know this inner voice. And this inner voice, which is my soul being and my soul nature, and really got to discover who I was. And I would just listen, and this voice would give me messages and information. And sometimes it was so clear, and I would like literally run and get my journal and have to write it down immediately because I'm afraid that I'm going to forget it if I continue meditating, right? So one of the things that came out of meditation was working with people in the heart and awakening the heart and discovering and learning the wisdom of the heart, and for myself, and then to share it with others. And so through that process, I started to explore, well, okay, what do you want me to do here, right? And so then I was guided to the HeartMath Institute. And I said, okay, so you get guided, and you're like, okay, that's fine. That's kind of cool. I've heard of them before. And then there was another confirmation that came from someone else who mentioned it. And then, I could be watching Gaia TV, and then this, Greg Braden episode will be talking about HeartMath. It was like in this literally 1 week time period, everything that I came across was HeartMath. So, you get these confirmations from your soul that, okay, you've discovered the path. Now let me give you confirmations so that this is the path we want you to take. So I started with their basic Ad Heart training, and I'm like, okay, this is cool, and it helped me. And then I would share it with people, and then I kept getting guided more and more. Okay, so then I took the next level certification to become a certified resilience coach, and I've been working with people now for a little over a year in helping them create heart coherence, create more resilience in their life, and really connect with that same inner voice, right, that I heard 20 years ago, and really discover who they are, really get into to the heart of being, and listen into their heart wisdom, which is really their intuitive wisdom, which is the wisdom they were born with, and really discover their deepest potential, which is what I'm always so proud of you for getting out there and building blogs and your online YouTube channel, and empowering people to be healthy, to be vital, to be well, to be empowered, to tap into their unlimited possibilities, right? So we all have a slightly different approach to helping people get there. And so I felt my calling as the next level of my personal evolution for myself, and then to share with others, is to work with people to awaken them to their true heart wisdom, to their true authentic nature, through these simple techniques taught by the HeartMath Institute, where there's a lot of science, there's research, there's technology. And so it's been fun. I have a lot of passion around it. It's fulfilling, and it's really having an impact in people's lives. And I've worked with grown-ups, and I've worked with teenagers as well. There's a lot of anxiety with teenagers these days. And I worked with my niece. She just got accepted into UCLA, and she was, it was so funny. She was so stressed out going into UCLA that, because she's going in pre-med, she's like, do you know that 80% of pre-med students drop out? And I'm like looking at her like, you haven't even started college yet. Why are you so worried about that? So I worked with her. We did 6 sessions. She has the technology. And now that she finished her first quarter at UCLA, I said, so how did it go? And she's like, oh, I've been using the breathing before I go into tests. I've been doing the visualization. I've been using the HeartMath techniques. So it's been really beautiful to be able to help her uh, be more comfortable with being in college. And now she's doing well. She's totally getting more acclimated, and she has this tool that she's taking with her into her day-to-day journey with college and pre-med and all these classes and all these people. So it's exciting to be a part of that, to help her.
Well, I know you have a free heart activation class. Why don't you, is that an offer that's always available? Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, the free heart activation class is to get people on that journey, to help them commit to discover their inner resilience, their inner voice, their intuitive nature, to explore it, to feel the feeling of what happens when your heart starts awakening, and how beautiful love can be, the feeling of deep love, to feel self-love, to have self-care. And so we start exploring that in the heart activation class. I'll teach some basic techniques that they can use in their day-to-day, integrate into their day-to-day life, that only take a few minutes. And then I'll share with them opportunities to participate in the HeartMath experience, which is a new program. HeartMath is launching this year for the first time. So yeah, so they can sign up on my website. They can go to jendickens.com. It's JENNDICKENS.com. And there'll be information there on how to sign up and get started on that discovery process.
Excellent. And of all the things that you've learned, again, through running your own marketing agency for health entrepreneurs and through now running your own health business, if there was a last piece of advice that you'd give either struggling health entrepreneurs, people who are really trying to make a difference in the world with the tools, the techniques, the information that they have, and also keeping in mind that we want everyone to not sacrifice their health as they're trying to attain wealth, what would be the advice you would have for anybody?
That's a great question, JJ. I love it. You know, we're in some very interesting times right now. We're in an age where people are exploring the way they're behaving, their inner being, their happiness, what's bringing them happiness, not bringing them happiness, what they can do to contribute to humanity in a different way. And a lot of times we explore that from an intellectual process, and our intellect and our mind serve us, correct? Because they've gotten us to where we are today. But I would really invite people to step back and get into the stillness a bit, connect with the heart, create heart-mind balance, and what's called coherence, heart-mind coherence, and be in that space for a little while and just let the answers percolate from within you. You know, because sometimes our intellect will come up with an answer based on our conditioning. And we want to move below that layer, the conditioned self, and move below and let the answers come from our heart wisdom. So the answers sometimes that come up are, you're like, what? You're like, I don't do that. That's not what I do. That's not me. But you know what? That's because most of the time you're in your conditioned self. So getting into and listening to what the heart has today to say either is going to resonate like, I knew that since I was a kid, that this is what I should be doing. Or you might say, oh, I forgot when I was a kid, I always said when I grow up, I'm going to do this. Or it could be something so out of the blue, but then when it excites you, like your heart just like flutters, like, oh my God, what is this? Like, this is so not me, but I love it. So the answers that come from the heart a lot of times are very different than what comes from our intellect. So I invite people to get into the stillness, create some heart-mind coherence, explore what that is, and see what answers come out for yourself, and see if those answers don't manifest more joy, happiness, fulfillment, success, abundance, whether it's financial or in other areas of your life. So that's what I would invite people to do.
Excellent. Great advice. So everyone, make sure to check out Jen's website and to look up her free class. It's jendickens.com. That's JENNDICKENS.com. And it'll be in the show notes along with a link for the free class. Jennifer, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your wisdom, your story, your vulnerability, and some advice that I think we can all take to heart.
Well, thank you so much, JJ. Thank you for all that you're doing. And, you and I have known each other for a long time. And I just love the work that you're doing in empowering people in health, fitness, well-being, spiritual, mental, emotional, all the above. So thank you, and keep up the great work. And thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about JJ's other podcasts or free tools to help your business and health, visit jjflizanes.com. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this show and rate and review it on iTunes. Have a fit and fabulous day.